Ciao chitarristi, siamo qui al 42 Gear Street nello studio di Henning. Con me c'è John. John, if you want to introduce yourself to Italian people.
Hi, I'm John Browne and I play guitar for Monuments. We are a band that basically sounds like Meshuggah.
That's all people have to know.
Yes, exactly.
John ci aiuterà in questo video per capire come imparare dei riff complicati, anche tecnici. Cerchiamo di capire un metodo per farlo, faremo in diversi step e ci guiderà lui semplicemente perché lui con la sua band diciamo che è un po' un master di questa cosa, perché scrive e compone dei riff che sono tecnicamente veramente complicati e intricati, quindi ci spiegherà lui. So John,
Yes.
Since you are really good at technical riffs,
Yes.
You are in this video.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, how can people learn difficult and technical riffs in I don't know, I don't want to say in an easy way,
Yeah.
but how can they have their life easier?
Okay, right. It's basically thinking about it as not one complete riff, but how it's been constructed. Obviously, we all play licks. You know, when we're soloing and we have like these certain finger patterns that maybe we repeat in different songs. And that's kind of how I build my riffs when it comes to writing on the guitar.
Quindi la cosa complicata di questi riff è che ascoltandoli tutti in un colpo solo sembrano un mattone gigantesco di roba complicata tutta insieme. Il suo suggerimento, ed è quello anche che tante volte anche sul canale vi ho anche detto, è quello di rompere il riff in tante parti, perché poi tutto va alla struttura del riff, quindi come se un riff tanto complicato fosse un insieme di tanti piccoli riff molto semplici, semplicemente collegati e concatenati uno con l'altro.
So if I take this riff, for example, this is the chorus riff of Animus. So, quite complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's all over the place, but let's break it down. First part. So that's kind of like the first motif, let's say. Second motif. And that has a certain feel to it, that sequence of notes, versus the first part. So I would learn that in two halves. So that has its own flavor in a way, just that little bit there. It's like a cool motif or a cool lick. The third lick, which ends up being played backwards later on in the riff, the same notes backwards.
Oh.
Okay? So, and then,
Okay.
yeah. So backwards, so it plays it both ways.
Okay.
So it sounds more complicated than it is. So yeah, that lick there, and then it goes, yeah, so that's another motif, that. Break it down into those little sections, and then you can piece it together. So let's go slowly. You'll see that thing, this part, is constant. So it repeats that 3 times, just on a different point of the bar. And then obviously gets played backwards later on. Instead of seeing it as one complete piece of music, the best thing to do is break it down into these little sections, because that's how I write it. So I'm not like writing this in one go. I have like little pieces that I'm piecing together.
Okay. So you come with the riff just maybe the first part, and then the second one, or maybe you came up with the first and then the third one, and you are looking for someone to put in between.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm constantly thinking, like, what happens if I play this part in reverse? What happens if I take out one note from this section? Like, what does it do? Let's choose a different riff and show you what I mean by that.
Okay.
So let's do something simple like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, really simple. Let's take out the second note rather than going so. Just taking out that note, the 7th fret of my 4th string, taking that note out just completely changed the feel of what that part felt like, which makes it sound more complicated than... but it's completely changed the feel of that part, but the way that I'm thinking about it is take out note 2. of my fourth note phrase.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what happens if I play that backwards? Now let's miss out note 2 of that. Right?
Yeah, you can play the first thing, then the second one, then the third, then the fourth, and you have a full riff.
Exactly, and the sounds are way more complicated than it actually is. Yeah, because everyone's thinking about it from the whole piece of music. I don't know if any of your channel listens to any classical music or any film music, but a lot of classical composers will have a prelude at the start of their symphony, and the prelude gives you all of the melodies, or the main melodies of the symphony that you can pick up on and catch onto throughout that symphony. And the same with film music. Good example of this actually is Jurassic World. Have you ever seen the film Jurassic World? They go into the old visitor center and it plays the original theme on piano in the minor key. And then when you listen to the original Jurassic Park from 1994, or 1993, I can't remember the year, it's the same theme, but in the major key. So it's stuff like that. So thinking about when you're writing, it's like, okay, what can I do with this part to make my riff go further? But I've only used 4 notes. So let's try this. And I want to be in the minor variation of this. So I'm going to be in minor. So we've got, I can play it in a major bit, or in the different positions of my scale. Now, what happens if I miss out the second note of one of those positions and then miss out the second note playing it backwards in another position? So, yeah, and then do the same again. Let's miss out the second note in a different position. So let's try doing that sequence. So like forwards, miss out beat 2, backwards, miss out beat 2, forwards, miss out beat 2, and backwards, miss out beat 2.
Okay.
So, my brain. Yeah. My brain. Sorry, guys. That's really basic, just taking like a really simple idea, but we've managed to make a cool basis of a riff from a very, very small, simple idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then if you have multiple of those, then you can start stacking them. And then most importantly, you can repeat those phrases within your song in different contexts. So then your song pieces together because you have these parts that have already been played. So it's not one gigantic riff salad, but people will pick up on the melody. Like, because once you've heard it, it's not exhausting to the ear anymore. So like a symphony.
Wow, that's really great. Basically, what I noticed in the previous riff you played, it's almost like the same approach of some guitarists in their improvisation.
Exactly.
It's like question and answer.
Exactly. Say I had 3 motifs and I wanted to use them within the same riff, then I could like play motif 1, then motif 3, then motif 2, or change the order. And maybe there's an in-between note or a gap or something like that, but that's basically how my brain thinks. Instead of, I want to make this big, elaborate, difficult riff, all I'm doing is like little puzzles and piecing it together in different orders and hoping that something cool comes out. Because that's an easier way. It's less overwhelming. That's how it ends up being complicated and polyrhythmic, because I might have a phrase that's 5 notes long or a phrase that's 3 notes long, and then piecing them together with a gap in the middle makes it a 9 beat over 4/4, thus ending on the offbeat. Basically, I don't do any of this on Guitar Pro. I just play until it feels right with these little licks, like you said, question, answer, improvisation, and that's what I'm doing, but then solidifying it by saying this is it.
Praticamente allora, di base si cerca di rompere il riff in tante parti, quasi ragionandolo come se fosse una composizione classica. Si parte da sezioni molto brevi, corte, fatte da magari 3 o 4 note, e l'approccio di John è quello di, ok, queste sono le 4 note e le posso suonare in sequenza come 1, 2, 3, 4. Ma cosa succede se tolgo la seconda nota e quindi ho solo la 1, la 3 e la 4? Le posso suonare in sequenza e ho 1, 2, 3, 4 e poi 1, spazio vuoto, 3, 4. Poi posso combinarle insieme e suonarle avanti e indietro al contrario, ed è praticamente quello che ci ha fatto vedere nel primo riff in questo video, ed è sicuramente una soluzione ottima per stimolare la creatività. I think that this way of thinking about the riff is also stimulate your creativity.
Exactly, yeah. So just before this video, I did a video with Bernd, a German fella. If you haven't seen his YouTube channel, check it out. Very good. He also has his own online teaching school, and he basically said, I need to see how you you write as well, and I explained, you know, missing a note out here, playing parts in reverse, and I could see the cogs in his head ticking about what possibilities he could do from that. So yeah, basically writing like this just stimulates creativity, because if I have one motif and then a different motif and they're in different songs, the result's never going to be the same because the motif is different. The formula might be the same, but everyone to a degree writes to a formula, you know, everyone. If you want to write a pop song, you're going to write verse, chorus, but with this method, it's never going to sound the same, especially if you're playing within different keys and different key centers, and motifs feel different, you're at different tempos. So yeah, the possibilities are absolutely endless.
And also another thing I noticed in this kind of riff is that they are really melodic, and it's not just a rhythm and dun 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 dun.
No, it's not. No, I always, the melodicism is always, I mean, obviously I do sometimes rhythms are cool, you know? Not all the time, but I think the best way to explain it is, do you know those soaring vocal melodies that you get, like the ones that get stuck in your head, you know, like something like Leave Me Alone by Michael Jackson, and the sequence of notes for those melodies, that's a really good example. I'm trying to find those really catchy note sequences
that they're stuck in your head
and piece them together. So there's loads of them on the different points of the bar, different octaves and stuff like that. I mean, that's another rabbit hole that you could go down as well, is playing things in different octaves. So say let's go back to that riff quickly. So you know, you can do it up here. So an octave higher, then you've automatically got like a lead part instead. But maybe we only take a couple of those notes and make it so that you could do like something like that. Or maybe something like that, you know, and start swapping around where the notes are, playing it in reverse, and so many possibilities just from playing an octave higher of the same note. So yeah, basically there is no limit to what you can do if you just play around with the music you've already made. I can see your cogs are turning as well now. It's weird because we learn all this stuff when we were learning music. We know what a rest is, we know what all those different sort of expressions of music are, but we don't really explore where we could take them because we're too busy thinking, I need to write a new riff, instead of thinking, well, why don't I take this sequence of 5 notes that I already have and just see what I can do with it.
It's all I have to say is so the main thing to learn difficult and technical riff is to break down into small parts, and you'll start noticing the repetitions, because they are almost like they were separate in different riffs.
It's almost like every riff has to have been built. Like we could take do you know the band Periphery? So let's take Butter Snips, like that's kind of a motif in itself, and that's kind of another motif in itself, and that would have been pieced together from those 2 parts. When you're learning complicated riffs, like think about where your hand position is and try breaking it apart, even with your own riffs.
Also the same notes in different positions.
The same notes in different positions,
wow, that's great. Io ringrazio tantissimo John per queste cose, mi si sta aprendo una spaccatura nel cervello che è gigantesca. So, John, thank you for being here, and
Ali, thank you. It is Ali, right?
Ale.
That's it, Ale. See, I am just a rude Englishman. I am really sorry.
So, thank you for being here and explain all these things to Italian people. But if you want to say your last words to Italian people.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. I always enjoy playing in Italy. We were in Milan earlier this year with Leprous, had a lot of fun at Fabrique in Milan, and obviously we'll be back again in the future. But special thanks to Ale for letting me talk on his channel. And
if you will come to Italy soon, you're welcome to my studio.
Oh, thank you very much, and you're welcome to the show. So let's do a trade. You come to the show, I come to your studio, and I get my filthy mitts all over your guitars. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you, guys. So you could go further than that, or maybe it's a completely different sound, isn't it?
I started to notice all these things writing guitar solos, but I never applied it to a guitar riff.